Hidden in a stack of papers, underneath a pile of documents, might be one of the most terrifying requests for a patent ever recorded. And it comes from one of the most well-known tech companies in the world. What on earth is it? And why is there almost no press about this device? Just one website found out about the patent and published an article. Gizmodo, a popular tech blog, dubbed the gadget the Vampire Watch. Why did they call it this? Because the device sucks your blood, literally. Google quietly requested a patent back in May 2014 with the US government. It was for a device to be worn around the wrist, something like a watch, although the patent indicates that it is not for time tracking purposes. Google provides diagrams for their invention. You can see that the company plans to market this product as a needle-free device that draws blood out of the human body. In most cases, blood can be extracted from a person using a needle as the point of entry into a vein. But now, no needle is needed, just the Vampire Watch. Google happily boasts that the device can be used to analyze and track just about everything that goes on inside of the body, such as hormone levels, enzymes, reagents, proteins, cells and molecules including blood glucose. Most people would think that such a device would be beneficial for diabetic patients who must check their blood sugars routinely. But as you can see, Google is looking beyond the multi-billion-dollar diabetic market. The Vampire Watch can literally track just about everything that happens inside of your body. Before you say that this is a good thing, that this device could save countless lives, consider what it could potentially open up. Tech companies have already led the way in the largest violation of privacy rights in the history of the world. The very notion of privacy has been stripped from the World Wide Web. There is no such thing. It doesn't exist. Leaders of tech companies have been complicit in the hostile takeover of privacy rights by the US government. It is known that the NSA has collected billions and billions of pieces of data on US citizens and even citizens in many other countries. Vast quantities of bulk data on billions of people, their online purchases, their surfing, their thoughts and ideas, their selfies, their videos, their expressed opinions. All of this data has been provided to the National Security Administration by companies like Facebook, Yahoo, Apple, and Google.
And now to the NSA. The NSA's top lawyer says internet and tech companies did in fact know about the agency's data collection program known as PRISM. Since the news broke last summer, companies like Facebook, Google, and Apple denied any knowledge of PRISM, but at a recent hearing, NSA General Counsel Rajath Dey said that's not true. Listen to this exchange between him and a member of the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board.
Early on in the debate, there were some statements by companies who may or may not have been involved in the program saying, well, we never heard of PRISM. But whether they ever heard of PRISM, any company that was from whom information was being obtained under 702 knew that it was being obtained.
Correct. PRISM is just an internal government term that as a result of the leaks became a public term, but collection under this program is done pursuant to compulsory legal process that any recipient company would have received.
Google knowingly provided billions of pieces of data to the NSA, and then they tried to deny that they had ever done such.
It states here that American citizens will be rounded up without warrants and imprisoned without trial for God knows how long. It states that these camps have been equipped to carry out Hitler-scale killings, an actual purge of American citizens by the very government which they themselves created and pay for. ICE agent's suicide note is now revealing government plans to round up and disarm Americans during a time of future economic and bank collapse. According to Superstation 95 FM out of New York, they're reporting some very deeply troubling news, but nothing awake Americans don't already know. Yes, they disclose that after writing a lengthy suicide note exposing terrifying plans that the government has for American citizens, a U.S. Customs agent walked onto a pier in New York City and blew his brains out. Sources inside the New York City Police Department have revealed to Superstation 95 the contents of his suicide note that was found on his body, and they are frightening. The note outlines why the officer chose to shoot himself. Quote, this is the words of his note. "The America I grew up in and cherished has been murdered by its own federal government. Our Constitution has become meaningless. Our laws politicized so badly they are no longer enforced except for political purposes." The note continued, "Our elected officials are, to a person, utterly corrupt and completely devoid of any love or respect for the country which pays them. To them, everything is about getting and keeping power and making illicit money from backroom deals." Now, the 42-year-old U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement deportation officer shot himself with a .40 caliber service pistol inside Pier 40 on the Hudson River Park at around 11 a.m. Apparently, a source at the scene described that the officer calmly walked into the park, took out his pistol, and shot himself in the head. Now, the suicide note, the officer revealed what he claimed are terrifying plans that the feds have been finalizing. And I have actually been tracking these very plans for many years now. Made some documentary films on it as well. Quote, "If the American people knew what this government is planning, they would rise up and overthrow it. If I or anyone else in the federal government revealed what is coming, we would be killed anyway. So now I will reveal what I know. We in federal law enforcement have been drilling for several years to control riots and uprising from a coming financial collapse and widespread bank failure. The drills involve life-size images of American men, even women and children, whom we are told to shoot for practice and to get used to it. We've been told that the economy is terminally ill and we will fail in 2016. We are also told that the banks are insolvent and the FDIC doesn't have nearly enough funds to bail out depositors. We are told that these events are unavoidable, and it is imperative that the U.S. government survive when people rise up over this. When the collapse takes place, detention camps created under the Rex 84 program in the 1980s to house illegal aliens whom we're going to deport will instead be used to imprison American citizens whom the government feels constitute a threat." Wow, that's stuff that I've actually been covering for a long time. Rex 84, the FEMA camps, that whole element, the continuity of government program. It states here that American citizens will be rounded up without warrants and imprisoned without trial for God knows how long. It states that these camps have been equipped to carry out Hitler-scale killings, an actual purge of American citizens by the very government which they themselves created and pay for. And he wrote, "I cannot be party to this." Wow, it's a very lengthy note, and I'm only reading part of it here. It goes on to say that the government knows the military will rise up to stop this, so our military is being deployed overseas and intentionally involved in foreign fights so they cannot be here to help Americans. Certainly a frightening future painted by this suicide note, and so frightening, in fact, that this agent took it upon himself to kill himself, to relieve himself of the burden that he felt that his own job and his own participation in this program placed upon him.